this the main film of tonight, Tony? We've never even heard of Life of Chuck. Didn't know this was a movie. Didn't know Loki was in another movie. He is. He's in Life of Chuck, which is about a life-affirming, genre-bending story about 3 chapters in the life of an ordinary man named Charles Krantz, played by Tom Hiddleston. By the way, that logline was a little wrong. One of these acts, the first act, which is Act 3, it'll make sense in a second, is not about Charles Krantz, but kind of is. Pop it or not, why did I go see this movie that barely anyone has heard of? I know some people have. People probably been walking by posters of this, seeing something about thank you for 39 years and being like, I don't know what this is. I don't want to watch it because I don't know what it is. Well, it's a movie that is also based on a Stephen King short story. Don't forget, Stephen King doesn't only do horror. He does some nice things too, like Stand By Me and Misery. That's kind of a horror. In fact, that's a big horror. Mike Flanagan is a director that has adapted a lot of Stephen King's works like Dr. Sleep, Gerald's Game, and he's also done Haunting of Hill House, The Fall of the House of Usher, amongst other projects as well. He also did Hush, which you can watch on Tubi. I tell you guys this so much. Hush is awesome. Watch it. How was Life of Chuck? It's not a horror film. Mike Flanagan hasn't really done anything outside of horror as far as I know. And if he has, it like had a lot of heart, but it still had some scary elements. This movie I walked into not thinking there would be any scary elements. And it had a lot of heart. But before we go any further, Bucky, do me a favor. Let the people know whether or not I was disappointed. Was the film poppin' or was it not? Of course it was poppin'. Are you nuts? It's Mike Flanagan. Now, why did I put the word wonderfully? The pros are excellent storytelling. Excellent storytelling. This movie is divided into 3 chapters. And the first chapter that you see is titled Act 3, subtitle. I can't remember what the subtitle was. But it was Act 3. So you're like, oh, okay. So we're watching the end of something. And you're focused on characters that include actors Karen Gillan and Chiwetel Ejiofor, who's so good in this movie, guys. He should really be on the poster because it's his perspective in this opening act. Something weird is going on in the world, and everyone is kind of frightened, but they don't really know how to react to it. And it's very similar to real life, where we have a lot of anxiety going on in the world when it comes to climate change, politics, wildfires, like shit like that. Things are happening in the world that we're like, yo, what does this mean? This act 3, is about that. And it is done so chef's kiss well, because it's a scary feeling from beginning to end of this act. I was sincerely scared, but it was funny. They did a lot of charming stuff in it. And it was so weird to see a horror director do a scary situation in such a charming way. I really respected the fuck out of it. Act 3 was my favorite. And that's this first chapter that I'm vaguely describing to you guys. And it made me jump because it makes you think, oh, everything's all right. But something huge happens. And I'm like, oh God. And when another thing happens, look at all this stuff I'm saying. And when the blah and the blah, I can't tell you too much. Just know Act 3 is awesome. You don't know what the fuck is going on, though, in Act 3, but you kind of get a sense of what's going on. Act 2 actually goes into Tom Hiddleston's story better. And this is the story that we actually have of the life of Chuck, which surrounds about a special moment in his life where he shared a public special moment with 2 other strangers. And Nick Offerman is the narrator, and he does a great job reading because he's got such a great voice. But the writing is fantastic, and it really makes you feel. It makes you feel happy and alive. And he does something which you're seeing right now. It involves dancing. And it's such a well choreographed scene, great music, very, very good act. And the first and final act, Act 1, the final act, is about his childhood. And something else that happens is very special in his life. He experienced loss, which includes his grandma, played by Mia Sara. If you don't remember that name, you may remember her from Ferris Bueller's Day Off. I was like, yo, where did she go? She retired from acting in the early 2000s, and she came back for this, specifically for Mike Flanagan. And she's so good in it, y'all. I hope that she comes back to do more acting. By the way, did you know that there was a Birds of Prey TV show on the WB? We're going to start a new segment called, Wait, this was a thing? Did you know that? But we're not going to start it this week, so I forgot to write about that. Anyways, this final act has to do with loss, but it also has to do with him trying to impress a girl and do something that he really loves that reminds him of the person that he lost as well. And it has to do with a special room, very reminiscent of House of the Falling. Wait, the Haunting of Hill House. In the Haunting of Hill House, there's a very special room. There's a special room in Life of Chuck. And when you figure out what that room is, you're like, yeah, Mike Flanagan loves this shit. It's crazy that this is based on a short story. I am interested in reading the short story because I'm wondering if there were 3 acts just like there was in this film, if they were told backwards and if they were done as well written as the film has done. So I gave you all the pros in very good detail. It really helps you appreciate yourself as well as the life you live and the wonders of how strangers come across one another along with the magic that they can share together. If I have to nitpick, which is what Popcorn Poppy does of cons, the only nitpicky thing I can say is ever since Midnight Mass, the miniseries on Netflix, that's very well made, and I do recommend it, but he's done it ever since then. Characters start monologuing and they just keep talking when the conversation is already over and the point has already come across. And there's so much more dialogue where you're like, you don't need to, like, I think you're a good writer, Mike. I don't think you're like a genius lyricist when it comes to dialogue. Having said that, you're one of my favorite directors, and I would be pissed if you directed something you didn't write. So I do like your writing. I just think you go into a bit too much dialogue. I'm sorry, too much monologue-y when it comes to dialogue. Having said that, in the Fall of the House of Usher, there are specific monologues that I absolutely love that I would love to use in auditions down the line. So that's the only con I can say. And I literally had to nitpick that because I couldn't give this a large with butter because just because of those scenes. And also there came a point where I was like, all right, I'm ready to go. But that third act was still great. Actually, I lied. There wasn't like a, all right, I'm ready to go. It was, all right, I understand. When are the credits? It's definitely not too long. It's certainly not too short. And it is sincerely full of heart. And in a word, it is wonderful. See the film and you'll know why I use the word wonderful. I don't usually use it in everyday life. You can be the judge of yourself of this large popcorn film. That's right, I said large. Not with butter, but close. Very, very fucking close. It is a perfect film. I just think, oh man, I don't know. I kind of want to give it butter. I'm going to give it a large popcorn for now. Maybe at the end of the year, I'll give it an award for like the one that changed my mind. If you want to see something that's lighthearted, that has some spooky elements in the first act, but the rest of it is like, sincerely, I can't say it enough, full of heart. Check out Life of Chuck in theaters right now.